Good morning, YouTube. Hi, my name is Nicola Dickens. This is Free My Care. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. However works for you. Excuse me, give me a moment. I am going to share this feed out. Today we are going to talk about something that I've been asked several times to do, is to put my interstitial cystitis story and why I use cannabis out to the world. So that's what we're doing today. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any of them. I'm trying to think while I do this. I tried to memorize the whole, not memorize, but I tried to put the whole story in the right time frame and context without reading it. So I decided I'm just going to write it all down and probably just read it to you. It's kind of an emotional story. It's a hard story for me to tell. I lost 20 years to this disease, almost exactly 20 years, from everything that this disease has done to me. And not only the disease, but the treatments behind the disease. A lot of times the treatments weren't beneficial. Sometimes they were worse than what they should have been. I mean, there was all kinds of scenarios there as to what happened in that time. So I'm going to read it to you. I have changed the names of the doctors to protect their privacy at this point in time, because the first doctor that did diagnose me, he has since retired. And so I have changed their names just for professionalism. It is HIPAA law. And he is a retired doctor, so I feel it's better to do it that way. Oh, good morning, Daniel. Good morning, Miranda Lynn. How you guys doing today? So I am just going to start this off. Do you remember I did change the doctor's names? The story is my story. It's what I've gone through treatment-wise. It's all very technical. It isn't an emotional story. It's just the treatments that I've gone through in this paper. I have not taken the emotional route on this. This is a paper that I have to submit to DDD. They want factual information that I can prove on paper, and this is what I can prove on paper with everything that I've been through in the last 20 years. Now, let me tell you to begin with that treatments have come a very long ways in 20 years. They are not as barbaric and horrible as they once were, and in some cases they're worse. So they kind of even themselves out. The pain changes, but things are different. So if you got them, light them. So I was first diagnosed with interstitial cystitis 18 years ago as a result of radiation treatment for cancer. The doctors believe that's what they believe it came from. That's the they don't know exactly where it comes from. It's kind of like endometriosis. 10% of the female population has it. I had it. I still do at points. So it's, I don't understand it, so I can't explain it. So over the last 20 years, I have participated in almost every treatment known to the medical industry, leaving me with a bladder that dictates my life. I was 26 years old, and I had just given birth to my youngest son. I was hospitalized for a severe UTI and kidney infection when my OBGYN had me monitored for cystitis, interstitial cystitis. And he did a cystoscopy, and he found the entire bladder wall lined with what my dog's name, Raffey, at the time said was the worst case flare-up he had ever seen in his many years as he's been a practitioner. I started seeing Dr. Raffey in the spring of 2000 and continued care with him until he retired 10 years ago. During this time, he started me on my first course of treatment that was medications, Elmiron, Valium, and pain medications, along with weekly bladder medication installations directly into the bladder through a catheter. Treatments look similar to day 1 through 3. Take two capsules 3 times a day, one of Elmiron, one 5 milligram Valium tablet 4 times a day, and pain medication as needed, usually only needed at bedtime at first. For me, I only needed it at bedtime. I didn't need it throughout the day. I was able to function through it. Day 4 would be take 2 Elmiron 3 times a day, 1 Valium 4 times a day, pain medication, Elmiron, direct installation by Dr. Raffey. He would drain the bladder at this time and send samples to the lab to check for a UTI. I then held it in for at least 30 minutes and then used the bathroom as usual. This treatment was successful for about a year. I graduated from that treatment a year in. I still took the Elmiron, I think, for an additional year after that, but it wasn't successful. As my bladder retention worsened, the pain worsened as well, rendering me to the mercy of antispasm medication and pain medications to calm or mask the hundreds of bladder spasms a day. The doctor also decided to start me self-catheterizing before bed and after sex to help prevent urinary tract infections. This treatment went on and masked the symptoms of interstitial cystitis for several years. However, there is no cure. And when my body got used to the medications, it took more and more of them to get the same relief. I also have to add, because of the opioid and barbiturate used to mask the symptoms of interstitial cystitis, I have very few memories of this time of my life, sadly. My children growing up, birthday parties, vacations, I have very, very few memories of those. I was so drugged out of my mind because I was in so much pain, and my bladder was constantly bleeding. I couldn't function like a regular person. Weed has changed that big time for me. I don't take pain meds on a daily basis anymore, so that I think is amazing. I do still smoke a lot of weed, and I do take Tylenol as I need to, but that's it. March of 2014, the second stage of treatment I started in the spring of 2014. I was hospitalized several times for bladder retention, but this time it was different. Before I could vote on my own a little, and it was almost the next day, I couldn't. I wore a Foley for 2 months, being checked and trying to void on my own to no avail. During this time, we tried bladder drugs. Every bladder drug on the market found it dehydrated me more than it helped, and it would cause bladder spasms multiple times a minute, causing my pain levels to soar, my blood pressure problems to start. I never had a blood pressure problem until this point in time in my life. My blood pressure, it's kind of funny too, because I used to be in the IT world, and I worked on those blood pressure machines, like at the grocery store, and I helped program those. So I was constantly taking my blood pressure because I was constantly working on them. And I could always predict my blood pressure was always right on point. And it was almost as in, like, one day a switch flipped and my blood pressure started going out the roof. I had no control over it. It was crazy. It would cause bladder spasms, my blood pressure problems to start. Side note, I have been to cardiologist and had ultrasounds of my heart. Everything shows my heart is perfect. However, the pain causes major spikes in my blood pressure, causing uncontrollable nausea and vomiting, body aches and pains, memory issues, depression, and anxiety. March of 2014 was the last time I used the bathroom like a normal person. I still try on occasion, but I haven't been able to void without a catheter since. Starting me on a low dose of macrobid at bedtime every night for the rest of my life, and by this time the effects of the opioids and barbiturates was just starting to be known. So we started experimenting with other bladder medications. We tried the Dixotran XL, Vesicare, Darafenicin, Larvicin, and many others over a couple of years that didn't help, or I had an allergic reaction to them. I did have an allergic reaction to a couple, bad allergic reactions. Those medications caused severe dehydration in me. I couldn't pee. I couldn't intake enough water. I couldn't drink enough water. I was having horrible times with that. So, I mean, a lot of things started going downhill at that point in time. I ended up with kidney issues because every time I had a UTI, it would back up into my kidneys and I would get a kidney infection. So I was hospitalized several times for my kidneys. As well as my blood pressure and heart rate, because it would get so high. They were afraid I was going to go into cardiac arrest. And it was just because of the pain. It had nothing to do with anything else, because my heart was good. It was all of the pain. It was putting so much stress on my heart that they were afraid it was going to do something. So the third treatment was only 3 different Botox injections into the bladder wall. So they did 3 separate they had to put me under 3 separate times. They put the Botox injections into the bladder walls. I continued self-catheterization, antibiotics, pain meds, and muscle relaxers as needed at that point, not to exceed 3 pain pills a day. Increasing my water intake to 1.5 gallons of water per day and changing my diet completely, tracking the amount of urine I voided to make sure I wasn't retaining. This worked off and on, but I was still experiencing severe cramps, bladder spasms, and pain while cathetering, and still have continual urinary tract infections. It was becoming harder and harder to leave my house. It has become harder and harder to leave my house. Is really what it's come down to. I was going to the bathroom almost every hour. If I tried to hold it, the pain would drop me to my knees. When in the bathroom, it takes about 15 minutes start to finish when you catheterize, when you use the bathroom instead of just sitting down like a normal person. I started getting nausea and vomiting every time I tried to eat food. Even just smelling food triggers the start of a very nasty eating disorder. I still have to take anti-nausea medication daily because I don't force myself to vomit. It happens. I can't, and I do it every day. I vomit at least once a day. And normally what happens is I get an overwhelming smell of something, and it turns my stomach, and that's what happened. And that's when I get sick. I'll wake up nauseated. Like right now, my head's starting to hurt more. You can tell my straining into my throat. I'm starting to get into a little bit more pain. I did leave my e-nail on because I knew that this may happen, because I have had a headache. I have been in more pain today. I have been able to get my pain level down to 6, but it hasn't gone much lower today. So I will be dabbing again. There's medicine that I have that I can take when I'm done with my video today that'll help. Mostly it'll help me sleep, so that way I can get through the hardest part of this. I also, and I was going to bring it out here and I forgot, I have 1.5 grams of Rick Simpson oil that's frozen in a little disc inside that I'll also be taking. That helps me a lot too with the pain on a daily basis. It helps me with the pain. It helps me with the nausea. It helps give me an appetite so I can eat. It's been a rough journey, and there's still more. The 4th treatment, I didn't see any results with. I would mix 1 ml or 10,000 units of heparin in 20 cc's of saline and lidocaine, and with some lidocaine in it, and inject that into my bladder via a catheter 3 times a week at bedtime. I'd hold it for about 30 minutes, and then I would go ahead and drain it out of my bladder with a catheter, because I can't sit down to go to the bathroom like normal people. My bladder doesn't work that way. I still continued the self-catheterization, the antibiotics, the muscle relaxers, the pain meds that I personally went to my doctor about. I told him I had a problem. I knew I had an addiction to the medications, and so my doctor said, let's go to Tylenol 3s and we'll manage with that, and I was good with that. So the top pain medications for me are Tylenol 3, the heavier opioids. They're not for me. I do have to take them on occasion when it gets really, really bad, but if I have a migraine or a headache going at that point, an opioid is the last thing I want to take. If I take an opioid, it usually makes my migraine worse. Oh, that scared the crap out of me. I just saw the replay. I damn near jumped off the damn thing. Hey, Ken, how you doing? Beauty Brad, how you doing, sweetie? The pain kept spiraling out of control, as well as the infections, and my urologist in Sun City released me to the University of Arizona Manor Hospital in Tucson. I started seeing the University Hospital last fall, where we decided to start the next treatment. I had a Medtronic stimulator put in. I underwent the first of 2 surgeries to implant the device just above my right buttocks at the end of September, and then it was permanently placed October 3rd, 2018. Since the device has been implanted, I still have discomfort at the device site. The spasms before this surgery had been pretty consistently between 15 and 25 bladder spasms a day. I did notice a drop in those bladder spasms at first, and until about mid-December, when the bladder spasms became unpredictable. I now have 2 completely different types of bladder spasms. One that feels like the bladder is squeezing as hard as it can, but the new spasm is worse. It feels like the bladder is spasming open, only you still can't void. To date, this type of spasm has landed me in the ER already. With this type of spasm, I haven't been able to get my catheters at home to work. I have had to go to the ER and had to have a Foley put in. I follow up with the doctor in Tucson in the middle of February where we will be discussing urethra removal. Since the last infection, I have been experiencing over 200 bladder spasms a day. The implant doesn't seem to be as effective as I originally thought it would be, or at least hoped it would be. I don't know what happened. I don't know if this is just one, and it's really, really possible that everything can calm back down again. It's really possible that I've just been in a month-long flare-up, that my bladder is so pissed off at me for the last month that it is causing all of this. And once the flare-up goes away, the implant may work again. I don't know. And I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid of asking for the urethra removal without knowing what the hell is going on. I don't want to jump the gun, and it scares the hell out of me. Because I only have 2 other options to go forward, and that is the urethra removal and bladder removal. Both are pretty serious commitments, and I've actually watched several people's cystitis stories on here. I've listened to a doctor that said something about it being in the brain, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to hear. It's in my head. Yeah, I've heard that for years. No, it is not in my head. It is definitely in my bladder. One thing I will tell you for 100% fact is that without cannabis, I wouldn't be here today. Cannabis has helped me in so many ways. The opioids weren't helping, and if you don't have something to help you during these times of crisis, during these flare-ups, you're not only physically unstable, you're mentally unstable. The reason for that is because somebody can only be in pain for so long. It can only hurt for so long. Once that hurt keeps going, you don't want to be around for it anymore. And you don't want anybody to watch you suffer. And that's what it comes down to. So, don't get me wrong, I am not suicidal. Please do not. Don't think that. Let's get that clear right now. But it is a difficult thing. With this disease, automatically comes depression. Automatically comes some anxiety. It doesn't matter. The minute I don't drive myself much anymore. The reason, could I? Yeah, I probably could drive just fine. The reason I don't drive is because when a bladder spasm happens and I'm having over 200 a day, it's bound to happen. I'm having it every hour. It's bound to happen while I'm behind the wheel of a car. If I have my foot on the gas and my leg twitches and I hit somebody, or I can't press down on the brake because I can't push down, I'm afraid of hurting somebody else. So I don't drive much anymore. Could I? Yes. I don't feel comfortable. I've done that for just over a year now. Since things have gotten to this point, it makes life really difficult. Not only that, my husband worries about me because he knows that I have a problem with it. He knows that I have, when your bladder's pissed off, there's not much in your body that likes you. And I strongly suggest for all of you patients with the interstitial cystitis, bring your spouses with you to some of these doctors' appointments. Let them hear what these doctors say. They're learning a lot now. It's not like it used to be where they used to tell us it was in our head, or yeah, it's there, but it's not that bad. You can deal with it, muscle through it. And that's what happened. Even with endometriosis, there was many, many years, because it's so hard to find, that the doctors, I swear, they just looked at me like I was a drug addict, and I might have been. But that pain was very, very, very real. It hurt. It was very painful. And you can only have so many people looking at you like a drug addict before you start looking at you like a drug addict. And that's kind of how it works. It's sad and it's sorry. And, even today, I have a hard time going into that ER and talking to that doctor and saying, yeah, I use medical marijuana, because they look at you with that second look like, oh, great. Okay. Addict. They label you right away. I have often said, I wish my only superpower was I could take and put my hand on somebody else's hand and they could feel what I feel right now. Because then they would know how real it is. One of the biggest advices I can tell you, ladies and men and gentlemen with this disease, is if you start noticing that bladder infections are coming and coming and coming, and you're constantly getting them, you are going to want to start self-cathing early. The reason why I say that is because I feel that if I would have started self-cathing and stopping some of those infections, maybe I would still have more use of my bladder. All of those infections are not good for your body. It is bound to damage stuff. So yes, please make sure you get that out of you. You need to make sure that you drain. You can't have those nights of, I'm too tired, I just need to lay down. And I did that. I did it, and I didn't do it often, granted, but I did do it on occasion. However, my bladder turned very, very quickly. It flipped and said, nope, I'm not going at all anymore. A lot of people with this disease have more of leaking issues than they do of not being able to go at all. They have more of, they have to wear a pad or something, where they're having to go to the bathroom all the time. They're up 5, 6, 7 times a night. I'm still up 5. Well, I'm not up. I'm probably only up 2 or 3 times a night to go to the bathroom. If I'm having a bad night and I'm having a ulcerative colitis night too, I will be up 6, 7 times a night going to the bathroom. But not normally. But you can be. It's not an easy disease. It is a rough disease, and that's why I smoke. That's why I feel more comfortable smoking. I'm more present. I'm able to do things. I'm able to remember. I'm able to learn. When you're on all those opioids and barbiturates, I'll tell you what, I didn't learn hardly nothing. So for that, I'm thankful. So that's my story. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. I don't know. Does RSO help with my appetite? Yes, actually it does. RSO helps a lot with my appetite. Because I'm taking such large doses of RSO every day, and that's 1.5 grams at a time. And I'll take a picture of this next disc that I take, and I'll put it on my social media for you guys to see. It's about 1.5 grams to 2 grams of Rick Simpson oil that I will take every day. It does help with my appetite a little. My problem is that I'll pick a little bit, and my body, I restrict so much. When I start eating, I start feeling yucky. So that's when my bladder's like, oh shit, I gotta work. That's when, everything's like, okay, I gotta slow down, and it's that food is one of my triggers for some reason. It really hit a major eating disorder for me. So, but yes, it does help. I think it was on phone with the kids' school. Oh no! You are not having a good day, are you, hun? Oh, poor Michelle. Oh, Michelle lost her crop, and then the kids' school. Oh no. So I think I am going to dab this one out really good, and then I'm going to call it quits for today. My head is really starting to bug me. I need to take that RSO, and I need to lay down. So I still have the California Orange and Bruce Banner out here. So we are going to dab that. As always, guys, fight cancer. I sucked that whole dab right down the middle. Damn it, that sucked. I didn't mean to do that. Oh, yummy. Such a good tangerine-y taste. Oh, thank you, Daniel. You're so sweet. Friend is taking 1/3 gram right now, and I'm increasing to 2/3 today. Awesome. That is wonderful. What are you guys taking the RSO for? Oh, goodness me. Oh. Where is it? Okay. I have a bee right here. Sorry. I'm allergic to those. No. Okay, well, since this bee wants to hang out right here, and I really do not want to shoot myself in the leg with epinephrine today, I'm going to call this the end of the video. So I hope all of you have a beautiful day. She had cancer in her throat, and it moved to her spine. Oh my goodness. How is she doing now? That I do want to know. How is she doing now, sweetie? My goodness. Where'd it go? It's quiet. Here it is. No, Tigger, don't piss it off. not well. Oh, I'm so sorry. How long have you guys been on the RSO? Have you been on it for a while? You need to get her up there. You need to get her in I was up to 4 grams of RSO a day. I went through, I did 100 grams of RSO. If you can get that, that's what she needs. And she needs to do it as quickly as possible. So if she can do it in 30 days, do it in 30 days. I did my 100 grams in 35 days. 3 weeks. That's how long she's been on it? Okay, yeah, keep getting her up there. That sleep is what she needs. That's what her body needs. For about a week, my husband would bring me those little discs in bed and give them to me, and I think I slept almost solid for a week when because I got up there really fast. She needs to just, pound them, get them up there. It's the way that I understood it because you can reach out to Rick Simpson. He will talk to you. He's out of the UK right now, as long as you're respectful. And the way that I understood him explaining it to me was you need to do at least 60 grams and you need to do it within 30 days. So you need to do it quickly. I just happen to have had a cultivator friend that fronted me 100 grams of RSO. I was trying to get him patients and we were trying to work with each other. I still owe him for my RSO. You need to, you've got to get it in you. You've got to get as much of into you as you can, as quickly as you can. That's very important. You can take some of the RSO and you can mix it with some coconut oil to help your body metastasize it, but you don't put a lot of coconut oil in it. It is mostly RSO. And that is important. She needs to get onto that. She needs to move up to the gram here very quickly. If she's been on it for 3 weeks, she should be at a gram a day now. And that's it's a tough thing. And that's what I mean. You will get very sleepy. You will spend about a month asleep. I slept a week solid that I can remember. After that, I slept quite a bit, but it wasn't as solid as that first week. It knocked me on my butt. But I'll tell you what, I also published my RSO diary on here. So if you actually go to my playlist, you'll see my RSO video diary. You'll see it from front to finish. You will see the change in my face as I moved through the entire 100 grams. So the entire 100 grams is videotaped, all of it except that week that I spent asleep, a solid week. That I was asleep because I didn't video during that time. So it was crazy, but I'll tell you what, I felt so much better. So yeah, please, if you can get her up there fast. That's what worked for me. I don't know if it will work for you. I don't know how much of my cancer is left. I have not had it checked. Because I don't want to have them treat me, they don't want to check it. Is basically how it works. Because insurance doesn't want to pay for something that I don't want treatment for. So that's how it works, which is sad. But and please keep me posted. You can always private message me, but keep me posted. I want to know how she's doing. Okay? As always, guys, mad love. I am here for you. I will be back tomorrow at 11 with another review. Have a great day. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Bye, guys. Hi, Tigger.